How did I get in this room? It is episode 12. Thank you for being here. Thank you for following. Thank you for, support. That's what we love.
We love it.
Our first DJ interview. Are you
First
excited?
DJ.
Yeah.
We are thrilled. David Wrangler was such a joy to have as a guest. He's been super busy, and he made time for us. And he came on, and we were blown away. We said 20 minutes. We got 45, so we feel pretty privileged.
Yeah, he took time out. So in the interview, you're going to see he's sitting in his car because 5 minutes before we did this interview, we get a text saying, "Guys, I just got a message from he's in Austin, from his internet provider, that the system was going to be down for a few hours." So he went to a cafe, and I guess they had no internet. So he got in his car and I guess drove somewhere where there was Wi-Fi. That's dedication.
That was dedication. He's obviously not only dedicated to the interview, but to his career, which I was blown away. He started, as a DJ. He's got his hugely successful retail Vinyl Ranch.
Yep.
I am such a fan. I went and ordered like 3 T-shirts right after going to his website.
A lot of the stuff that you see, and he talks about it in the interview, a lot of the stuff that you see today that's kind of like these country mashup kind of things on shirts and trucker hats and stuff, like he was doing that 10 years ago. So he's like the OG when it comes to that. So if you don't know him, you need to follow him. You can follow at Disko Cowboy, DISK, Disko Cowboy, and also Vinyl Ranch. All right, so let's just get to it right now, guys. Dave Wrangler, Disko Cowboy, check it out.
How did you get into fashion? Did you study fashion?
I don't identify as a fashion industry person. I literally look at my merchandise as content that is physical content. So I have digital, experiential, physical product content, whatever you want to call that. And I kind of look at it as just my merch for my music project, which when I started all of this was Vinyl Ranch. So this is just an evolution of the Vinyl Ranch project. The Disko Cowboy thing kind of was born from that because I needed an identity performance identity to break out and to kind of pair with Vinyl Ranch. And that's where Disko Cowboy came in. It was kind of the perfect companion for it, but also on the side of Vinyl Ranch, when I was beginning with the fashion thing and kind of creating a brand out of it, I couldn't simultaneously DJ as Vinyl Ranch while having a brand. So I was trying to navigate that. So a long-winded response to your question, I've always been into fashion, meaning a fan of it and a student of it, but not in a formal sense, just, as someone who loves personal style and, for the most part, try to have personal style. And as a kid who grew up in the 90s, personal style and identity was kind of all you had. You didn't want to walk into any room and look like 5 other people in that room, or I didn't. So I've always kind of that's kind of been my philosophy with the style. And, and I kind of, obviously you've gone through the website at some point and seen some of my design work there. And a lot of it is just kind of streetwear inspired take or response to like country music themes and electronic music, nightclub themes, and kind of bringing them all together. Which is why my brand is so unique, because it's actually the lifestyle that I've lived. It's not a manufactured, facsimile of what. Now I look, every time I open my phone, there's like another fake version of my brand. That it's not fake. I just mean these people, if you could pop the hood on their projects, you would see that these people have absolutely nothing to do with the content that they're selling you, actually, the lifestyle. So
I love that you mentioned that, because in some of your previous interviews, you've referred to being flattered by, copycats, if you will. But then there's a difference in copycatting. And as a fashion designer myself, of course, I have transparent sunglasses. And so we always borrow, it's hard to reinvent the wheel every season. But I thought it was interesting, and I appreciate that you said that there's a difference between the, drawing inspiration from, and then the tracing. You
Yeah.
refer to tracing, and I agree. Tracing is that's got to be tough for someone when you put yourself out there. You've got your social media, you've got your brand, and it's so easy to have that taken over by others. So, yeah, how do you deal with that or not?
I think I've had so much hindsight to process this now, and I have so many, and this happens to all of us in every aspect of business, which is why when you make something very personal, your business, it is virtually impossible to not allow those two to mix somewhere, because I do take things personally pertaining to my business, because my business is personal and it's impossible to separate myself from it in some aspects. In others, I do see, I am flattered by it. I mean, I have friends who are genius cocktail mixologists who open, brilliant concepts for bars, and lots of other folks who work in other industries who find that their business models are traced by others too. And that's just kind of the way it goes. So, it's a tough pill to swallow, but I don't want to say it's a necessary evil, but it's just the way it goes. If you're a first mover someplace, naturally a second mover is going to come in behind you, and you just gave them proof of concept. Yeah. You just did all the hard work. You did all the market research. You took all the risk, took all the chances, and now they come in. That's just the way it goes. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm not as salty about it anymore, but it is a bummer when you see that, particularly with what's happening with country music right now, when you have all of these new entrants to the market, the new fans anyway, and the new fans see they see the echoes of your hard work in other people's brands because they have more money for marketing, or simply they're new and everyone knows that new is pretty sexy and attractive, new kid on the block, yada, yada, all that. And they get all the shine for all the work you did. That is what kind of feels like a jab in the ribs,
Well, let's talk about something that I want to get your take on, because you talked about new fans and a lot of I think a lot of the younger people that are coming to country are looking past the big mega sellers. They're looking for those little diamonds in the rough. Let's talk about Charlie Crockett. And you just got to do a tour with Charlie, and I interviewed Charlie a few years ago, not too long after interviewing you, as a matter of fact. And I think what's super interesting is that his roots are really in the real deal traditional country, and then you got the opening spot on that tour, bringing a very kind of modern twist to it, like you said, mixing and DJing and being in that country DJ space. What was the reaction from his audiences? Margot and I tried to get a ticket to that Armadillo show, and we couldn't even get in there.
That is in, you know what? I thought I was a professional at sneaking in. So
Nope.
This was
denied.
You guys kept it tight, but now we've got you on the screen.
What was it? So again, what was that like? And his audience and you opening the show, what kind of reactions were you getting?
Well, actually, to kind of circle back, so I used to book Charlie to play Vinyl Ranch parties pre-pandemic, when you could, dare I say, afford Charlie, when you could afford to book Charlie to play your event. So Charlie and I have had a relationship that goes back to probably about 2017. So obviously always been fond of each other's work, love his friendship. I think he has great style. That's actually how we met. We met in Nashville. And the first thing he said to me was like, "Hey man, you got really cool style." I was like, "Oh, thanks, back at you." That's actually how I met him. But Charlie, Charlie's audience was my audience back then. So all I really did here was kind of circle back to Charlie's audience, which is my core audience. So I actually played straightforward country music for Charlie's opening shows as like an homage to the beginnings of Vinyl Ranch. And I used that opening slot to tell the story of Vinyl Ranch and how I got acquainted with Charlie in the first place. So it was actually kind of a brilliant, it was very fortuitous that this would happen at that time to get that call, because I've been racking my brain over the past 2 years while DJing electronic music in clubs, feeling like I've strayed so far away from the Vinyl Ranch core audience that I didn't know how I would ever get back. And I'm like a master visualization manifestation kind of guy. I've been studying this for a really long time. And as soon as I decided, yeah, I think it's time to swing back, I got the call, hey, what do you think about doing Charlie's opening run? And I was like, yep, perfect. It's like it was always going to happen. So yeah, hopefully I've got more shows with Charlie in the future. But yeah, to answer your question, I didn't do the Disco Cowboy thing that you might expect, you know, if you're just listening to this interview. It was more of like the Vinyl Ranch DJ set that made the Vinyl Ranch parties back in 2007, 2010 so special. So a lot of the, you know, 70s to 90s Texas country.
You know, I think a lot of people that like that era would kind of say that, you know, that's right before the big switch or the big turn or the big, you know, that kind of led us to where we are now. And I'm not going to go off on any of that. But, you know, I want to talk about COVID real quick, because that's when you and I Zoomed for the first time. And, you know, luckily we have some mutual friends that connected us. But you were live DJing during COVID because everybody was locked up at home. And I remember watching some of those videos and just like digging the fact that you were even doing that, you know. And for a lot of people, you know, we were, you know, the whole I just finished Netflix memes were going around, you know, because we were all locked up at home. But you kind of turn it into a chance to perform and share your music and your vibe with people. And not so much a question that if I hear Disco Cowboy or Vinyl Ranch, I immediately think of those live DJ sets.
That's wild. Yeah, that obviously without telling that story all over again. But now this is how many years in the rear view?
Yeah.
2 or 3. I only really did that because, I only did that in the mornings because I looked at my peers and everyone was doing the live streams at night. So it gave me some structure to my day. It's like, you know, if I force myself to get on air and play music for 30 minutes or an hour each day and connect with my fans or build new fans, then it's a win-win for me because, you know, it gives me structure when there's no structure. So that's kind of what motivated me to do it initially. And then I kind of grew to get more comfortable with it. And then I enjoyed it. And then I evolved it a bit. And then I had guests, as you saw. And then it kind of turned into this, I built a community around it that really, not to say they didn't show up for anything else, but they would show up every day. And I still get messages from people, still run into folks in the wild who, you know, tell me how much that helped or how it became a big anchor for their day and yada, yada. So yeah, I really enjoyed it, but I only plan to do that during the lockdown, you know, lockdown portion of the pandemic. And then it kind of went on for way too long. And I love the idea of quiet quitting things like Irish goodbying. I sort of just let it fall off at the end of 2021. Yeah, I recently had I don't want to say fall flat. I'll say currently on ice with Casey Musgraves. One, you know, I posted a piece of art that had a very short snippet of music to my Vinyl Ranch Instagram, and she immediately responded like, hey, this is great, reposted it, and then was sending me DMs about, hey, why don't we try this another way? So one Friday night 2 months ago, I spent my whole night with Casey Musgraves basically co-producing this remix of one of her songs, more like a mashup cut to a Houston rap song. So yeah, we spent a whole Friday night doing this, and then it's probably my fault that it didn't get released. I just didn't have a lot of time for it beyond that weekend, and she has a lot going on, and there's probably still a chance. I just need to circle back with her, but yeah, things like that happen all the time. Even with the Midland guys, just the other day, the bass player from Midland, Cameron Duddy, commented something on one of my pictures, and it was a really funny phrase. And I said, hey, can you read this in your voice memo and send it to me? I'm going to use it in a song. And he was like, oh yeah, for sure. Send me a voice memo. And now I'm using it in a song that I'm recording in New York in like 2 weeks.
So I know you were just in Paris.
Oh yeah.
And I hear that you have become a fan of natural wine,
Yes.
the juice.
Well,
It's
we
been in the-
love wine. Tell us. I.
Well, this is a different animal, Margot.
Okay, fine. Oh, okay.
Tell us about natural wine and the journey there. What have you seen? Where have you been? What have you drank?
I have been, honestly, this was all born from the pandemic, actually. I really started to be an I don't want to use the word wino because I don't identify as one, but I wasn't as curious about wine until really 2020, particularly the natural wine, but wine's always kind of been there. My grandfather in Michigan made wine. My mom drank wine. You know, my dad was super into wine when he was in his late 20s to his, till now. But I don't know where the obsession came from, but I'm a collector of things, and I like when something is small batch. I like when there's a lot of TLC put into it. I love the philosophy of 0-0, like 0 added, 0 taken away, which is kind of like the ethos of natural wine. And it spirals in 360 degrees from there if you want to start using, these buzz trigger words to kind of define and corral what that really is. If you're looking at, I don't even know where to go here, Ruben, because there's so much to say.
No, I mean, that's cool. I mean, I just know that a lot of people are into it, and I'm just recently, I was watching that Action Bronson series, and he's traveling you're right, he's traveling everywhere, and he keeps ending up in Paris and in parts of France. He did several episodes there, and it was all about the natural wine, and he was hooking up with the makers, and they were bringing, and I was like, man, it's a thing.
It's a thing, and depending who you talk to in the industry, from where they're positioned, some people will say it's over. But you see that with music too, and genres and movements. Whenever it reaches a tipping point, and then it just tips in a new direction. So maybe, I just had this problem today. I had a friend who was going to Houston who was trying to find natural wine, and all I really knew where to direct her to. I said, hey, you can go to Central Market, Whole Foods, or my friend Steve's bottle shop in Montrose, Light Years, but he doesn't open until 4. And that's kind of where I left it. But, depending on, I would love to have a whole chat about this in the future, but we can do that over wine in person, I hope.
Well, wine for the people and music for the people, and you live in Austin, and we now know how to reach you, so we will be drinking wine with you soon enough. Organic, non-organic, we will toast to you for coming on this show, for finding the Wi-Fi, for sharing your stories. And we always ask this question, and I cannot wait to see your response. We always ask all of our guests, how did I get in this room? The name of our show. And that means, was there ever a moment in your fashion world, in your organic wine in Paris world, or on tour, a moment where you looked around the room and thought, how did I get in this room?
All the time. And you know what the tipping point moment was? How did I get in George Strait's bathroom to take a selfie? That was it.
Okay, I'm holding it for the soundbite, but oh my God.
Yeah, no, right before the pandemic, I got booked for this really strange event. So George Strait was selling his home in the Dominion outside between San Antonio and Bernie. It's this really, luxurious real estate development out there where, like, the San Antonio Spurs live, and a lot of these kind of celebrity types in San Antonio. He had this huge, it was like an 8,000 square foot Santa Fe style, like white stucco home, beautiful. And they were doing a party there with Codigo, and they wanted me to DJ it. So of course, naturally I went, and then I ended up in his bathroom wearing this Pure Country t-shirt that I made. And I took a selfie in his bathroom. And that's how I wondered, how did I get in this room?
All right, so what I love about Dave, is that he is very focused when it comes to career, whatever he's doing. You can definitely tell he's one of those guys that's just like completely dialed into what he's doing.
He is. I love not only obviously his commitment to music and such, but also going back to his fans, which seems to be a resonating theme with all of our friends that we've interviewed so far.
Yeah.
Kind of being able to connect with them on a different level. So he's connecting with them not only via his merch, but we talked a little bit about the pandemic, and who doesn't remember that special time?
Yeah, and that's the first time I interviewed him. And the interesting thing is, because I was DMing people just randomly,
Sure
like,
you were.
"Hi, would you do a little,
Extrovert.
yeah, would you do something with us?" And a lot of people said no. A lot of people never replied. He replied, and I also, because of my dear friend, shout out Mark Austin, we got connected to Charlie Crockett. And of course, in the interview you guys just heard, Charlie and David have known each other since 2017, and they just recently did a tour. We talked about it in the interview that we could not get into the Houston show.
We tried.
And we tried.
We are sneaky, this little team.
We're not. Apparently, we're not sneaky enough because they were like,
next time
no.
we'll do better.
Yeah, he's coming back soon.
You're too tall. I probably could have scurried in.
That's the problem. It's
Gotta
a height
lug
thing.
this guy around.
It's a height thing. But yeah, what a cool guy, man. If you guys aren't following him, check him out because he's super cool. And I like the fact he talked about manifesting things, and kind of focusing on things and making things happen in your life, which I thought was really cool.
It is. And again, going back to running themes with all of these successful people in this industry, manifesting, we need to manifest more. But it seemed like Amanda Munger, who was just on the show, thanks to Amanda, who
Blake Shelton's tour
manager, she manifested.
Yeah, exactly
life.
right. That's 2 episodes with manifestations happening, people.
Wait, let's take a dramatic pause.
Suddenly, this is turning into the Psychic Network. If you call right now, call the number. We will read your tea leaves.
Manifestation.
Yeah, absolutely. Are you having trouble in your love life? Please call us.
In fact,
can we get the number on the screen?
After the interview, I actually messaged David and I said, I hope to manifest as much success in my career as you have, because he was able to bounce from retail, and I'm in retail with transparent sunglasses.
I wouldn't call it retail.
And now
I wouldn't call it retail.
Fashion. He's in the fashion.
Fashion. Right, but he said, I don't identify in the fashion space. He created this merch thing.
I love this
image thing, and I know Dave doesn't like to be pigeonholed. I think from that he's very specific about, and I love that about him. He's very specific about, who he is as an artist, as a businessman, and as a creative.
And my favorite thing about him that I want to mention was how humble he
Absolutely.
is. With all of the success and quick rise to fame that he has had, one thing that he refers to is how he's never really taken advantage of these incredible friends that he's made along the way, and I certainly would have taken advantage. So I'm glad
because he does not want to take advantage.
Sure.
He wants to be respectful. He wants to be. Like he said, I don't want to be that guy.
He's not that guy. He is.
And I think his approach is what's going to pay dividends and make him, I don't want to use the word star or
DJ.
Baller DJ that he deserves to be, and creative and all of that stuff. And hopefully when he does a set and we get to see him, we see him again. We're getting out of time. They're wrapping us. Guys, next episode, we've got more cool stuff for you. We love you. Thanks for being with us. We're out of here. Peace.